What if I told you that somewhere in the world, people intentionally let sardines rot and even allow maggots to wriggle inside them, all in the name of flavor? No, this isn't a dare, a lost fear factor episode, or a medieval punishment. It's a real dish, one that's been passed down for centuries, loved by locals, and feared by just about everyone else. This is the story of how decaying fish became a delicacy, why people still eat it, and how it earned a reputation as one of the most dangerous foods on the planet. Welcome to the world of maggot-infested sardines, right here on History of Food. Before refrigeration, people had two options when it came to keeping food from spoiling: dry it or ferment it, which is a fancy word for let it rot, but on purpose. Across Scandinavia, fish was a dietary staple. But in the old days, when fishermen couldn't sell all their catch, they needed a way to make it last through long winters. So they started salting and fermenting small fish like sardines or herring, sealing them in barrels and letting natural bacteria do their thing. What they got wasn't spoiled fish, at least not technically, but a preserved product with a pungent aroma and complex flavor. Think of it as ancient food science meets daredevil dining. The most famous example of this controlled rot is Surströmming, Sweden's legendary fermented herring. It's not maggot-infested by design, but it smells like it could be. The process is simple but horrifying. The fish is lightly salted, sealed in tins, and left to ferment for months, sometimes years. When you finally open the can, it hisses from built-up gas, and the smell can clear a room faster than bad karaoke. People describe it as rotting garbage mixed with wet dog and vinegar. Yet in Sweden, it's a national treasure, eaten with flatbread, potatoes, and onions during summer festivals. It's proof that one person's biohazard is another's comfort food. But let's talk about the real reason you're here: the maggots. In some versions of fermented fish, especially those made in warmer climates or left uncovered, fly eggs can find their way inside the barrels. When those eggs hatch, they become tiny white maggots that continue to help the fermentation process by breaking down proteins in the flesh. Essentially, nature's recycling team moves in and adds its own twist to the recipe. The result? A more pungent, sharper flavor, and an extra dose of authenticity for those brave or reckless enough to try it. Now, before you gag, it's important to note that these maggot-ridden versions aren't the goal, they're just an occasional outcome. But in some regions, people came to believe that this lively fish had a richer, more intense flavor. Which brings us to one of the world's strangest delicacies. You might have heard of casu marzu, Sardinia's infamous maggot cheese. It's a wheel of pecorino deliberately left to host cheese flies that soften it into a creamy, wriggling spread. Now imagine that same philosophy, but applied to fish. In some Mediterranean coastal traditions, fishermen would ferment sardines or anchovies in wooden barrels, only to find them crawling with maggots after a few weeks. Rather than toss them, they discovered the flavor was weirdly good. Local stories claim it added depth, which is a polite way of saying it tasted so strong it made your eyes water. The maggots broke down fats and proteins, creating an umami bomb that adventurous eaters came to love. Fun fact, Surströmming is actually banned on airplanes. No joke. Airlines like SAS and British Airways forbid passengers from bringing it aboard because pressurized cans have exploded mid-flight, releasing what's described as weaponized stink. There's even a viral video trend where people open a can for the first time and instantly regret every life choice they've ever made. It's the olfactory equivalent of a slap in the face. Yet somehow, the dish still has superfans who swear it's delicious once you get past the smell, and if you eat it outside. Here's the fascinating part. Fermented fish isn't technically rotten in the dangerous sense. True rot happens when harmful bacteria, like Clostridium botulinum, take over, producing toxins that can kill you. But proper fermentation is controlled chaos. The salt limits bad bacteria while allowing good ones to thrive. These friendly microbes produce acids and enzymes that preserve the fish and create that unique, funky flavor. It's the same principle behind soy sauce, kimchi, and fish sauce, just taken to, let's say, a more aromatic extreme. That said, the line between fermented and poisonous is very thin. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, outbreaks of botulism from poorly fermented fish were not uncommon. In some cases, maggots weren't just a sign of flavor. They were a sign the fish was way past saving. That's why many modern versions of fermented sardines or herring are carefully regulated. Commercial producers now ferment under strict conditions, ensuring no unwanted guests, insect or otherwise, join the party. Still, traditionalists argue that modern fermentation lacks character. You know, because apparently the character smells like decomposing seafood. Here's the thing. While Westerners often gag at the idea of fermented fish, plenty of cultures consider it a delicacy. In Japan, there's kusaya, a dried, fermented fish that's notoriously smelly but packed with umami. In Iceland, there's hakarl, a fermented shark that literally has to rot underground before it's edible. These foods exist because humans learned to make the best of scarcity. When refrigeration didn't exist, fermentation wasn't weird, it was necessary. Over time, people developed a taste for it, and what started as survival became tradition. So when we wrinkle our noses today, we're really just looking at a culinary time capsule, a reminder of how far we've come and how far we're not willing to go. Here's the twist. What we call disgusting now might actually be the ancestor of our favorite modern flavors. Fish sauce, the base for countless Asian dishes, evolved from the same principle as rotten sardines. Parmesan cheese, fermented milk fat, soy sauce, rotting beans. In a way, maggot-infested sardines are part of the same family tree. The wild cousin who never got invited to dinner parties. But without foods like this, we might never have discovered the art of controlled fermentation at all. So yes, maggots in your fish are gross, but they're also a bizarre milestone in the human journey of taste, where curiosity, desperation, and biology collided to create flavor out of decay. So the next time you open your fridge and see something a few days past its best before date, just remember, your ancestors would have eaten that. The maggot-infested sardine may never be served in fine dining restaurants, but it represents a truth as old as food itself, that humans will do anything, literally anything, to make food last, even if it means eating something that wiggles. And in the end, maybe that's the real flavor of history. Bold, weird, and just a little bit rotten. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our other bingeable channels. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution.